안녕하세요. 비트의 아버지입니다. 영상에 앞서 사이페딘 아모스는 비트코인의 경제적 가치를 강조하는 대표적인 학자이자 그의 저서 비트코인 스탠다드로 유명한 비트코인 옹호론자입니다. 사이페딘 아모스는 비트코인이 단순한 디지털 화폐가 아니라 법정화폐의 문제를 해결하고 개인의 경제적 자유를 회복하는 혁신적인 기술이라고 평가합니다. 그의 주장은 비트코인이 금보다 더 단단한 화폐이며 정부가 통제하는 법정화폐의 위험성을 피할 수 있는 대안이라는 점에서 큰 주목을 받고 있습니다. 사이페딘 인터뷰 영상
I
시작하겠습니다.
think Bitcoin is the best money ever for two reasons. Bitcoin is the hardest money ever. It's harder than gold. And the second reason is the fiat standard, which is that Bitcoin is faster and more reliable than fiat money, which is government money, wherein you just hold a fraction of Bitcoin, a fixed fraction of the supply of Bitcoin that continuously holds on to its value over time because nobody can make more of it and most likely appreciates. So having this form of money available to everybody in the world, I think is going to be enormously consequential. And on the other hand, if you look at the use of fiat money replaced gold because effectively governments could do it. They could put gold out of business because they could control central banks and they could make the central banks use fiat money. But that ultimately relies on credit and it relies on trust, which is effectively a human manual technology. Ultimately, you're counting on a bunch of people to wake up every morning and not mess up your money for you, which is a little bit like what it was like when you used to have to call an operator in order to connect your telephone. Some of you might be old enough to remember this. I do. Back in the day, sometimes you couldn't just dial the phone. You picked up the phone, somebody answered, and you told them who you wanted to talk to, and then he would connect you to somebody. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it didn't. Then we figured out a way to do that, so there's just technology where you press a bunch of buttons and then the other person his phone rings and then you talk to him. And it's, of course, a lot more scalable. And this is effectively what Bitcoin does. But there is a lot of money to be made from messing up your money. And so, therefore, there is a strong incentive for it. And now you can opt out. So I think there is a much stronger imperative for using automated money than using automated phone calls. If I was given the choice, I'll take an operator and get to keep the automatic money. I think it's much more reliable because it gets rid of the element of trust. And this is the truly remarkable thing about Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is such a mind-blowing technology. Bitcoin just continuously exists and makes itself available for everybody around the world to use it while it continues to be what I believe the best money ever. Because if you look at the world in the 19th century, you see that people had a much higher rate of saving back then than they did in the 20th century, where everybody was relying on debt. And the reason for that is because the value of money is constantly declining in the 20th century. And so, therefore, it makes no sense to save. On the other hand, it makes more sense to borrow. So as a result, everybody, as an individual and as a society, becomes effectively a debt slave. And that includes corporations, it includes governments. Everybody has to be running on debt, and everybody is a couple of paychecks away from liquidation because you have to be in debt, and so you have to be making your payments. And if you're not in debt, effectively, you're losing value, you're subsidizing the other people that are in debt. All of that is essentially possible to overcome when we move to a form of money that is hard, that prevents anyone from printing more of it, that prevents anybody from creating more of the supply. And the flip side of this is, okay, well, if that wealth isn't being stolen from everybody, well, then who's not getting it? And this is the fun part. This is the best part of the whole thing. It's not just that you get to keep your money. It's that the people who don't get to have your money are the people that have done all kinds of horrible things over the last century with your money, namely governments. They have had a blank check to spend. As long as their currency works, they can effectively spend as much as they want. There's no sane limit on how much they can spend. They don't have to face economic calculation on their decisions because they don't bear the cost. There is no bureaucrat who has to pay from his own pocket if he makes a mistake. There's a money printer that's out there that bails all of their decisions out. And that just encourages all of these horrible decisions, encourages all kinds of recklessness with the lives of people and with the money that people have, and encourages all kinds of terrible things to take place all over the world. We see it in the 20th century. We see how much wars there were. We saw how much death happened in the 20th century. All of it was financed by governments who were printing money. When governments had to fight wars while securing physical gold, which they could not print because that was money, they could only fight until their physical gold ran out. So they became a lot more responsible, because if you run out of gold, you can't pay your soldiers anymore. You no longer have an army. So they were far more responsible with how they treated it. When we move to a world in which the money is constantly losing its value and constantly therefore being used to finance government spending on war, now a government faces an entirely different perspective on the issue. Now they can actually they can fight for as long as anybody out there is holding on to their money. As long as anybody is using their money, they can print more of that money that devalues that money, that allows them to continue to fight. And that's how war has just become so normalized, because people don't even realize that they're paying for it. They don't realize that the value of the prices, the prices of things that you buy in the supermarket is going up because the supply of money is increasing, not because shampoo or houses or cars or apples or oranges are becoming more expensive. We're making more of those things every year. They're becoming cheaper in real terms. We have more and more of them. They're not getting more expensive in real terms. It's the money that is getting cheaper, and the money is getting cheaper because that money is being printed to finance all kinds of insane forms of government spending and all kinds of local corruption. And that is what leads to all kinds of destruction. So Bitcoin effectively offers us a way out of this, offers us a way that we can all, anywhere, anyone in the world, can opt out of whatever insanity the government is doing and secure their own wealth, and in the process rob the government of continuing to have more resources available for it in order to produce all of these horrible things that we see around the world. And this is something that works everywhere. It works in rich countries, it works in poor countries, it works if you have hyperinflation, it works if you have high inflation, it works if you have low inflation, it works even if you don't have inflation hypothetically, because it is just a superior form of money whose supply increases a lot less over time. So it holds on to its value a lot more, and it incentivizes people to think about the future more and more. I think one interesting aspect that I like to discuss is how it shapes people's orientation towards the future. When the money is good, people are able to save for the future, people are able to provide for themselves, and because they're able to provide for themselves in the future, they start thinking more about the future, and they become more future-oriented. Whereas when their money is broken, and they can't save for the future becomes less certain for them.
구독자분들을 위해서 10년 경력 개발자 출신 트레이더와 프롬프트 엔지니어가 같이 만든 알파빗 오토프로 지표 무료 신청을 오픈했습니다. 현재 유료로 팔고 있는 그만큼 가치 있는 지표이지만 구독과 좋아요 해주신 분들에 한해서 선착순 30명만 신청제로 받기로 했습니다. 초보자분들부터 경력이 오래된 트레이더 분들까지 굉장히 큰 도움을 받을 수 있는 지표라 도움이 되실 거라고 자부합니다. 또한 실제로 사용해보고 사용 후기까지 적어주시는 분들 5명을 선별해서 알파빗 오토프로 지표 평생 이용권을 드리려고 합니다. 신청 방법은 하단 더보기란과 고정 댓글에 나와 있으니 많은 신청 부탁드립니다. 구독과 좋아요는 영상 제작에 큰 도움이 됩니다. 성투하시기 바랍니다.